Tom Hopkins once stated that sales is both the highest paying hard work and the lowest paid easy work that he could find. Now think about that again. Highest paid hard work, lowest paid easy work, same profession, same playing field, wildly different paydays. So what makes the difference? Because let's be honest, many people out here work hard and they work for long hours and they receive lots of rejection and there's tons of pressure out there. So hard work alone isn't rare. And yet some people barely survive while others absolutely dominate. So again, you have to ask yourself, why is that? Now, after years of working with professionals at every level, I started to notice a pattern. And many of the top earners weren't just grinding harder. They were thinking differently. They were acting differently, and they showed up differently. And they consistently had 4 specific characteristics that they used, and when they were present, high income seemed to follow. And I don't think it was by accident, nor was it by luck. It was by design. So in this episode, I'm going to break down those 4 characteristics. We're going to talk about why they work and how you can start implementing them in your business effectively today. If you're tired of working hard and without seeing the payoff you feel you deserve, this episode is going to be for you. So let's get into it. I'm Rashid Hanif, and welcome to the Business Moves Blueprint, where we're going to take you on a strategic, actionable, and winning journey designed to help you make every business move count. So in other words, this podcast only exists to help you make more money by making better decisions. Now, we all have our own individual definition of what success may be. But success isn't random. It doesn't usually come from talent alone. Which brings us to today's business move. And it's my RJR 4 characteristics of business success. So let's stop guessing and start dominating. Characteristic number 1 is empathy. Now, Daniel Goleman identified empathy as a cornerstone of emotional intelligence. And in business, that couldn't be more true. Because business is relationship driven. It's human to human. And human connection is essential to long-term success. We've heard it all before. People do business with individuals they know, they like, and they trust. And Teddy Roosevelt once said, people don't care about how much you know until they know about how much you care. But neither of those statements can exist without empathy. Because empathy begins with your observation and it deepens with your listening. Not waiting for others to stop talking, but truly listening. You can only demonstrate real empathy when you are present and in the moment. Because it's something you hear on a phone call that may cause it to happen, or maybe it's something you sense in a conversation. But when you respond thoughtfully, when you acknowledge what matters to people, it means something to them. It tells them, I see you, I hear you, and I care. And when people feel that, they can start to trust you. They believe you want to see them succeed. So let's be honest here. Someone else could probably do what you do, no matter how great you feel you are or how talented you may be. We're all replaceable in this game, but relationships, those are much harder to replace. That's why empathy just isn't nice. It's strategic. It's treating others the way you would want to be treated. But it's also understanding what's important to them, not just what's important to you. Now, this reminds me of someone I met years ago, and he modeled all of this perfectly. His empathy was his superpower in business, and it helped him build incredibly strong relationships. And they were relationships that were rooted in trust. His clients were advocates for his business. And one client in particular became one of his closest friends. Their families spent time together. Now, they initially bonded over golf. Now, here's the funny part. This advisor, He was a great golfer. He used to beat this client every time they played. Now, I don't really recommend that, but after each round, sitting on the 19th hole having drinks, the client would jokingly blame all of the losses he had on the advisor's clubs. He was convinced those clubs were the reason he couldn't win. So what did the advisor do? He went out and bought the same set of clubs that he had as a gift. Now, that may be going above and beyond, but that was who he was. He always understood what matters to people, no matter how big it could be or how small it was. His client loved those clubs. He said it was one of the best presents he's ever received, outside of things he got from his wife, but he couldn't wait to get back on the golf course and even up the score. So they played soon after, and well, again, yeah, the advisor still beat the brakes off him. So it really wasn't the clubs. It was all about the game. But fast forward sometime later, that same client's health began to fail. And sadly, he passed away. And when the advisor attended the service, he noticed something that stopped him in his tracks. Right next to the casket up front on a cart were those golf clubs. And when he came up to offer his condolences, the client's spouse told him, my husband really loved those clubs and he loved his relationship with you. So today, I know he'd want to take those clubs with him. And she thanked him, not just for the gift, but for everything he'd done for the family as their advisor over the years. And she told him, I want you to stay our advisor. And she also referred anyone who needed his services. That's what real advocacy looks like. And he built many relationships just like that one over time. His empathy compounded his success. Yes, empathy was good business for him. But in these times, more importantly, it's just good humanity. People were always drawn to him. And once they became clients, baby, they stayed clients, not just because of the results or the service, but because they knew he genuinely wanted to see them win. So here's the takeaway. Don't underestimate the power of empathy in your business. Ask yourself, how can you demonstrate it today? How could you listen to people better every day? How could you show your clients that they matter? Because when people feel understood, they tend to stick around. So characteristic number 2 is persuasion. Now, we just talked about the importance of human-to-human relationships, but we can't ignore reality. And at the end of the day, business is still about sales. And to be successful, you must be able to persuade. And I don't mean pressure or manipulate or push people. I mean genuinely persuade. And persuasion is deeply connected to your understanding of people, which is why emotional intelligence, again, matters here. One thing I've noticed about customers, and this may be profound, people will buy what they want, but they don't always buy what they need. Yeah, that's it, until they begin to want it. But it's crazy, but that's real talk. Because think about insurance. Many people need life insurance. They need disability insurance or even long-term care coverage. They know they need it, but until something emotionally connects, until it feels real to them, they tend to hesitate. And that's where persuasion comes in. Your great sales professionals help people emotionally connect to the solution. They help clients see why the thing they need is also the thing they should care about and also want. Persuasion isn't about talking someone into something. It's about helping them see clearly. And here's something important. It's not just what you say that persuades. It's also how you say it. Now, that's effective communication, and we're definitely going to go deeper into that in future episodes. But being persuasive starts long before you deliver a solution. It starts with your understanding of the person sitting across from you. And unlike a lot of people will do, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. When you offer a solution, you really have 2 options here. You can present it on one hand, or you can position it on the other. And there's a big difference between both of those. Think about any seminar you may have attended in your past. Have you ever gone to a seminar expecting to learn about something at the seminar and the speaker pulls the old okie doke and talks about something totally different? That could be very frustrating, but most of all, it's just a huge waste of time. Now, that's what a presentation does at times. But imagine if the content of the seminar was based on questions submitted to you and other audience members beforehand. Now you'd be hearing exactly what you came for. That's positioning. And when you present, it comes from your own frame of reference. Now, maybe you didn't gather enough information about your subject, or maybe you just didn't ask enough really good questions to find out what's going on with them, or possibly, if you're being honest, you really didn't want to. Either way, the solution, again, is delivered from your own perspective. And when that happens, clients struggle to see themselves in the solution. There's no ownership. There's no urgency. But when you position a solution within their frame of reference, everything tends to change. Now the client feels understood. Now the solution sounds like it was designed for them. And that only happens through conversation, through asking thoughtful, open-ended questions and getting them to do most of the talking. And then, and this could be the hard part for a lot of us, being quiet and listening. The higher earning professionals that I referenced earlier, they master this. They don't dominate conversations. They guide them. They uncover what matters most, and then they position solutions that align with those priorities. And that's persuasion at its highest level. It's really not about convincing people. It's about connecting and helping someone make a decision that they tend to already feel is right. So characteristic number 3 is creativity. Now, when I think about creativity in business specifically, I'm not thinking about art class or something crazy like that. I'm thinking about what makes you different. Why should someone work with you instead of the 10 or 15 other people who do exactly what you do? What makes you stand out? Let's define it. Creativity in business is the ability to create perceived unique value in a crowded marketplace. So it's not necessarily reinventing the wheel or positioning yourself in a way that feels distinct. Creativity shows up in the niche you choose, or it could be the processes or systems you use. It could be the messaging in your communications or the way you brand your business. Now, sometimes when people hear the word niche, they tend to think, well, that sounds kind of limiting. But in reality, a niche often does the opposite. A focused niche can reduce the competition around you. It can increase your perceived expertise in business. It may improve your marketing efficiency or raise your conversion rates. And most importantly, it can generate stronger referral opportunities for your business. The only real drawback that I can kind of see from choosing a niche is possibly choosing one that's too small of a market to sustain your business. But when chosen strategically, it can be incredibly powerful. Now, I recall a team of advisors many years ago in Charlotte, North Carolina. And as many of you know, Charlotte is NASCAR country, right? And they decided to focus specifically on clients in NASCAR. They understood the business, they spoke the language, and they were genuine fans of NASCAR. No one else in their office was serving this community. And because of their expertise and their clarity, they became the go-to team. Week after week, through word of mouth, people from NASCAR, the drivers, the people in the background, the support people, were reaching out to them. That's creativity through their focus. Now, I also knew an advisor, and she was way out west, who just loved photography. She incorporated that passion she had into her office, and it was on her website, and her walls were filled with framed photos she had taken, including pictures of clients she worked with. Now, with the permission of those clients, but she also had beautiful pictures of nature that she took outside, and this became a connecting point of her office. It was a conversation starter. It was the showcase, not just of her office, but the whole office place. And those personal touches led to a lot of word of mouth, a lot of referrals. Now, that's creativity through her personality. So here's the key. When you create clarity, when you create focus around who you serve and how you serve people, you actually will expand your opportunity. But when you don't, you tend to get really vague, and vague doesn't convert to anything. Think about a brand new advisor. I've heard it all before, asking for referrals and saying, I'm looking to work with people who have money, lots of money. What does that even mean? Who are you picturing right now? Probably no one specific. You know, when you tend to make people think too hard, most of the time they won't. That's profound again. And that leads to fewer referrals, but often you'll receive unqualified ones. But now imagine saying this. I love working with people who are about to transition into their retirement, their golden years. I enjoy helping them design a retirement lifestyle. Now there's a vivid picture. Now someone thinks, hey, you know what? That sounds like my neighbor Pete. We were talking about retirement just last week. Let me give him a call. He may be interested in talking to you. Clarity creates connection, and connection creates those opportunities for you. There are countless ways to demonstrate creativity in business, but here's the deal. In a crowded marketplace, creativity can be the lever that turns similarity into advantage. You don't have to be wildly different. You just have to be meaningfully distinct. So ask yourself, what do I want to be known for? Who do I serve best? And how can I communicate that in a way that makes people immediately think of someone specific? Because when they could picture a person in their mind, they can make the introduction to you. Now, if I had to rank these characteristics in order, discipline would definitely be number one. Because in business, discipline turns ordinary processes into extraordinary results. Discipline is what ensures repetition continues long enough to build greatness. And here's the key. Repetition builds confidence. But we live in a society now where people want instantaneous success. So what happens? New professionals will read a book and then change their process. Or they'll watch some movie that focuses on business and they want to adjust the strategy they just mapped out. Or they receive some advice from a senior and sage colleague, but then they start tinkering with all their approaches. And while learning is great, and believe me, it is, constantly changing without committing to a repeatable process prevents you from mastering it. What it also prevents is your effort to build a defined and repeatable system. Without repetition, competence will usually stay out of your grasp. There's a quote from an athlete named Paul Skeens, who was one of the best young pitchers in the major leagues today. And I heard him once say, greatness is boring. Now think about that. Greatness is boring? But I guess throwing pitch after pitch, practicing his pitching mechanics for hours, repeating the same motion over and over and over again. So it's definitely not flashy, but it's how greatness is built. Now look at Stephen Curry. Now he didn't become one of the greatest, well, let me change that. He didn't become the greatest shooter in the history of basketball because of variety. He became great because of repetition. It's shot after shot in those gyms. It's practice after practice. It's his shooting mechanics repeated so many times, they become mundane and automatic to him. Now imagine if Steph Curry changed his shooting process after every bad game. He would have never become who he is in the NBA. They say repetition is the mother of learning, and learning creates that confidence. But these same athletic principles I just described apply to your business. To become exceptional at what you do, you must repeat your process until it feels almost boring to you. I once had a friend drop this weird acronym on me of repo, REPOH. Now, spelling may not have been his strong suit, but the lesson is still solid here because repetition does make things easy. And when things are easy, they tend to become more pleasurable. Now, pleasurable things you'll want to do more often. And when you do things more often, they create habits. So repetition creates those habits. And when your business processes are ingrained, when you can run it from memory without overly processing everything, something powerful happens. First of all, you'll stop forgetting items in your meetings or your sales calls with customers because you will do it the same way every time. Your listening will improve because you're not mentally scrambling for what comes next or thinking about who should I be talking to or how should I be. Your personality will be able to shine when you're no longer consumed with what do I do next or what questions should I be asking. You actually can connect with people. And remember, clients aren't just buying a service or a product. They're looking for solutions. And part of that solution is you and your confidence and your clarity and consistency. Discipline is the commitment to repeat what works until compounds into greatness. It may not be exciting. It may not be trendy by any means. But if you stay committed long enough, it just might be unstoppable. So here are a few things I hope you take away from today. Empathy builds trust. Creativity builds distinction, and persuasion builds momentum. But discipline, yes, discipline builds legacy. So here's my challenge for you this week. Assess your business model. Do you display these 4 characteristics in your business? Most importantly, do you have a defined and repeatable process? Are you disciplined in your process? If not, reach out. Let's discuss how you can start to build these 4 characteristics into your business. Again, greatness is just boring, and it does take time, so don't rush yourself. Get 1% better every day. Success is not hard because it's overly complicated. It's hard because it requires sustained discipline. So thank you for listening to the Business Moves Blueprint. We would love for you to like and subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform. Also, share this with a friend or a colleague that may be looking for that new business move to help them move in forward direction. I'll see you on the next episode. We'll have another business move. I'm Rashid Hanif, and as my granddaughter Naya has always taught me, peace.